Hey everyone, it's Alexander Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and this is my review for Peter Pan and Wendy, directed by David Lowery, and is another adaptation of not only the classic Jamberry play, but also the 1953 Disney animated movie. Given that this is another live-action Disney remake, this movie follows the Darling children, who tell stories about Peter Pan and heighten him up as this big legend, only for Peter Pan to actually come into their window, take them off to Neverland, where they have many adventures and encounter the evil pirate Captain Hook. So in the ongoing tradition of Disney remaking some of their animated classics, when I heard this movie was coming out, I was a little more skeptical than normal because A, it's being released straight to Disney Plus, and given how awful the remake of Pinocchio was from last year, I was on edge. Like, this is probably going to be dreadful. And also the fact that Peter Pan, the 1953 animated movie, is one of my favorite Disney films. It's my second favorite Disney movie of the Silver Age, and one that was constantly on loop at my home when I was growing up. But there were a couple of elements that made me go, you know what, this might have a shot at being one of the good ones. The first is that this is being directed by David Lowery, who did A Ghost Story, which I really hated. He did The Green Knight, which was creative and overall good. I wasn't in love with it like most people, but I liked it. But he also did the live-action adaptation of Pete's Dragon, which apparently is one of the better movies in this trend as well. So I thought, okay, I haven't seen Pete's Dragon myself, but if everyone claims that to be one of the better Disney live-action remakes, then this movie might be in good hands. So I was willing to give this the benefit of the doubt. And unfortunately, it's not all that good. It's nowhere near among the levels of terrible like Pinocchio, Dumbo, or The Lion King are. But I also didn't feel like this movie had any of the elements that made the Disney animated movie, or even the original source material, so timeless. And luckily with this review, I don't even have to compare it to the Disney movie. I can just simply look at it as another adaptation of the Jamberry play, because the play itself has had an impact on my life beyond the animated Disney movie. And there are some things to admire about it. First of all, it feels more real than Pinocchio. There's a lot of sets that feel like they're constructed. They actually go to real locations and film on location, which makes Neverland feel a million times more real than Pleasure Island and Pinocchio from last year. I also give this version credit for not being a beat-for-beat remake of the animated movie in the same way The Lion King was. When Peter takes the Darling children to Neverland, in the score you can hear You Can Fly just without the lyrics, and the opening does feel very much like the animated movie with a little less energy to it. But once they actually hit Neverland, it's a different movie. Characters that pop up in the animated movie are either different, not mentioned, or just cameos, like the mermaids and some of the Native American people who live on Neverland. The Lost Boys are handled a little differently, mainly because there's the addition of a few girls, which I can already hear right now. It's not the Lost Boys if there are girls in there. Yeah, you know what? The X-Men have women in their group as well, so deal with it. Tiger Lily is actually more of a proactive character and not simply just there to be a mute damsel in distress. And there's a backstory involving why Peter Pan and Captain Hook fight consistently that I honestly don't think worked. It's not an aspect that I felt really lent itself to the movie, and I feel like it could have been cut out entirely, especially because it makes the movie end on a very underwhelming note. Captain Hook is played by Jude Law, and he's really good. He's not goofy or a funny villain in the same way that Captain Hook was in the animated movie, nor was he threatening and scary the way Jason Isaacs was in the Universal film from 2003. He's just a pirate. That's pretty much it. He does a decent job, all things considered, even though I don't know who was in charge of the hair and makeup department, but they gave him the greasiest wig I have ever seen. And it also kept changing colors throughout the movie. Most of the time it would be black, but but then there's an instance where it's gray, and it was totally distracting. Jim Gaffigan makes for a good Smee, and I like how he's not a bumbling idiot like in the animated film. The kids, however, are a mixed bag. Alexander Molony plays Peter Pan, and in the beginning I thought he was good, but then throughout the rest of the movie, he's very flat and just doesn't have the same energy that usually makes Peter Pan the character that he is from previous adaptations and the original source material. Ever Anderson, who's actually the daughter of Mila Jovovich and Paul W.S. Anderson, is decent at points as Wendy, but then there are other times where she was also flat as well. John and Michael are completely useless in this movie and don't really stick out in any way. The actress that plays Tiger Lily, there were, again, points where I felt like she was really flat. Out of all the kid actors, the ones that were playing the Lost Boys were actually the best ones because they gave this movie the sense of adventure that it is desperately missing. And there are some imaginative sequences throughout the movie, like when the ship is floating in the air and there's the big final battle on top of it. The sequence involving the crocodile chasing after Captain Hook is admittedly fun, but it's only one scene. That crocodile appears in one scene and is not a presence throughout the rest of the movie. And I feel like maybe it's for budgetary reasons, since this was a Disney Plus movie and not a theatrically released one. But that was very disappointing. And if I may go back to Captain Hook really briefly, you could call this a spoiler all you want. I don't care. It's a time-honored tradition within Peter Pan. I was very disappointed that Jude Law did not play Mr. Darling. Instead, it's Alan Tudyk, who I guess Disney has on speed dial because he's in everything. I know this might be a nitpick for some people, maybe for a lot of people, but the idea of the same actor playing George Darling and Captain Hook has always been a tradition. As far as the animated movie may have strayed away from bits of the source material, they remembered to keep that aspect in, and I really wish they'd done that in this movie. Either have Jude Law play Mr. Darling as well as Captain Hook, or go in the opposite direction and have Alan Tudyk play Captain Hook as well. That would have been a very over-the-top performance that I'm kind of curious to see in an alternate universe. But at the end of the day, Peter Pan and Wendy is just a middle-of-the-road Disney adaptation. It may not be predictable, it's got some impressive production design, and I really admire David Lowery's commitment to shoot on location rather than in consistent green screen. And in terms of Peter Pan adaptations, it is certainly better than whatever the hell they tried to do with Pan back in 2015. That movie was atrocious. That might as well have been the awful, unwatchable Disney live-action remake or Disney live-action prequel that we all fear occasionally. No, this one is just more middle of the road. And while it's got some things to admire about it, I can't really go far to say you should see this. But if you do, watch at your own risk. It just lacks the adventure, it lacks the sense of wonder that made so many of the other adaptations and the original source material so special. If you're looking for a live-action film version of Peter Pan, watch the 2003 movie from Universal. That movie is highly underrated. It didn't do well at the box office, mainly because it came out around the same time as Return of the King, and you damn well know what everyone was watching then. So it's just there. I don't hate it, but I'm probably gonna forget this in a week. And there you go, that's my review for Peter Pan and Wendy. I hope you enjoyed it, and now I want to know what you guys think about the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.